This video is sponsored by Sakurako. Alright, so we got the chapter 223 spoilers, and I'll just get right into it because coming off of the end of the previous chapter, we saw that Gojo was heading into his battle with Sukuna, and we are seeing the beginning of it in this chapter, and it starts off with a bang, both literally and metaphorically. So the chapter starts with Ichiji asking Gojo about the prison realm experience, and Gojo says that the time lapse kind of feels like the same as when one is really busy with work. The work feels super short, but also so long that you don't want to go over it again. So that's both a great way of explaining it and also a way that doesn't really give us any insight into what it was like. I mean, we all understand what those weeks are, and I'm sure this is more so Gege kind of just getting this off of his chest. You know, the life of a manga is probably always like this, but yeah, more or less we expected it to be something like this, but it's not fully explaining it, but I guess it doesn't matter. Gojo asks about the people affected by his unlimited void during Shibuya. Ichiji says that they are all recovered, and Gojo reaches the top of the building and says, "Let's get started." Urahime and Grandpa. Grandpa is Gakuganji. So what Gojo is talking about here is what happened in his fight against the big four natural curses at the beginning of the Shibuya arc, like right before he got tricked by Kenjaku and was put into the prison realm. He figured out that, you know, what he had to do to subvert their plans and the way that everything had been set up at that point in the subway station was to activate his domain expansion for 0.2 seconds. And that way it wouldn't completely kill everyone in the vicinity, like all of the innocent bystanders, but it would probably give them brain damage to some extent. So he's just confirming it here, not only for himself, but also the audience, because, you know, we want to know that Gojo is still somewhat innocent, considering what he's going to do in a couple pages. But the scene switches to Sukuna. Urarame tells him that even though the fight is meant to happen today, they don't know about the time and place, but Sukuna says there's no need to decide as he sees a strong curse aura from a building afar. Hey, also guys, a lot of you consistently watch my Jujutsu Kaisen content, whether it's my reviews for the Viz on Sunday or it's my reviews of the spoilers on Tuesdays/Wednesdays, but you don't subscribe, and that's understandable. But if you can please just subscribe, because that way you won't miss any of my spoilers or review videos. That would help me out and the channel so much. Thanks again. But now there's a flashback, and Gakuganji tells Gojo that he killed Yaga, but Gojo goes, okay. Grandpa asks why aren't they all curse him for his deed, and Gojo says that he doesn't mind, or moreover, it's his fault, since he got sealed and the higher-ups made Grandpa comply. So this answers it. We were asking that question in the previous chapter when we saw Gojo walking down the steps with Gakuganji. We're like, you know, why is he cool with this? Because Gakuganji killed Masamichi, the principal, who was very cool with Gojo. And yeah, it's like Gojo understands. He's like, yeah, you're just following orders. It was mainly the higher ups that were the ones at fault here. And Gojo, you know, pretty G of himself to put the blame on himself. I mean, it's not the correct thing to do, but Gojo is the one above all in Jujutsu society. So he feels that all of the responsibility is solely placed on him, and that none of this would have happened if he was captured, which is true, but you know, still Gojo, you know, you gotta lighten up a little bit, but still very G move. Panda is listening while Gojo asks Grandpa about Yaga's final words, and Grandpa says that Yaga revealed how to create cursed corpses. So Gojo comments, seems like you've changed, Grandpa, because he didn't report it to the superiors. So yeah, it turns out that Masamichi did tell Gakuganji how to create the cursed corpses, which were like the whole big MacGuffin as to why they wanted Gakuganji to kill Masamichi, was like how to figure out how to create cursed corpses, which is like still an anomaly to the world of Jujutsu, which is what made Masamichi so special. It's also why Panda is such a special entity in this world in the first place. Like, Panda is an anomaly, essentially. The next page reveals that all the higher-ups are killed, with a bubble of Gojo saying to Gakuganji that if Grandpa becomes the leader, things will be better at least. So yeah, all the higher-ups are just dead now. Actually, a pretty violent display, and it's like, did Gojo kill all of them? And I guess you're led to believe that he did, but also I wouldn't be surprised if it was also Kenjaku that did this, because, you know, we saw back in it was like chapter 191 or 192, somewhere around there, like the beginning of the Kamo and Maki taking on Curse. Now, yeah, we got a flashback to when Kenjaku Gaku like took over at least the Noritoshi clan. And he talked about how the other higher ups were under his control essentially. So it's possible he did it and we're led to believe that GOJO did it, unless GOJO did kill the higher ups here. And that's awesome. I love that Gege would do something like this with his precious characters, because you know the way that Jump is, we can't have the heroes doing something like this and killing people, especially like humans or innocent people that aren't villains, in cold blood as he's doing it here. But I really hope GOJO did, because to be honest, he's kind of justified, right? But first, let's talk about the sponsor of this video, Sakurako. Sakurako is a monthly authentic Japanese snack subscription box. Sakurako is also supporting local Japanese snack makers, because each box comes with 20 traditional, authentic, and artisan Japanese snacks, including Japanese tea and a special Japanese tableware. This month, it's a chrysanthemum dish. It also comes with this awesome booklet that gives you information on all of the snacks in the box, as well as information about Japan and its culture. This month's box is Mochi and Fruit Marvels. This month, Sakurako invites you to celebrate the artistry and flavor of both uniquely Japanese flavors with this specially curated selection of treats and tea. In Japan, food is both sustenance and art, reflecting the country's rich heritage. Mochi and fruit are particularly beloved delicacies for their unique flavors and textures. So the first thing that we always have to try with these Sakurako boxes is the tea, and that's because they pair with everything in the box. And this month it's Genmaicha with green tea. And as always, this is so flavorful. You're really not going to find a flavor like this in the States. Then we tried the Ichigo Mochi Manju. The textures on this thing are incredible. The mochi wrapped around the strawberry filling is something that I didn't know I needed, but now that I have it, I wish I had more. We also tried the Ajiko Mochi crackers, and again, it's just great textures with all the snacks in this box. These things are lightly salty with tons of umami. We also tried the lemon pie, and you can see how crispy and flaky this thing is, but just looking at it on this video doesn't do it justice. It was so good. So if you'd like to get your very own artisan Japanese snack box from Sakurako every month, check out the link in the description and make sure you use my code Zhoniin. That way you'll get $5 off your purchase. Thanks, guys. GOJO leaves after his talk with Grandpa, and Ichiji asks, why does GOJO want help from him of all people? And GOJO says, you don't really get it? You're the one I trust the most. Flashback ends. And yes, that is true. Ichiji is by far the most trustworthy person. I mean, aside from our MCs and whatnot, but yeah, Ichiji is just a great character. I really like him, and I hope he has a much bigger moment than what he ultimately has in this chapter, which is still pretty good, because back to the present, Ichiji is behind GOJO, setting up a barrier. He's sad, thinking about things like he's someone who ran away, but also didn't, because he wasn't brave enough. But the strongest said he believes in him. There's no way I can't live up to that expectation. Meanwhile, Uruhime is performing a dance ritual. Uruhime's curse technique is named as Solo Solo Ginku. Her curse technique can enhance the total output of cursed energy of any sorcerers, including herself. That is amazing. What an awesome reveal for Uruhime's curse technique, which took literally the whole series up until this point. Like, we had no idea what it was. And now that we know it's like cursed energy buffing to others and herself, this would have been very useful earlier on, you know, like they could have been using her the whole series to do this. The skill of sorcerers lies in how much they omit the steps that's needed to use their curse technique. But GOJO, Urihime, Ichiji, Grandpa, and everyone does all the required steps to activate their curse techniques, like enchanting lyrics and doing hand signs. All this leads to... So before I go further, as we can see here, they are all setting up this combo attack with GOJO. This is amazing. I love when series do this. They are all buffing up GOJO here. Like, GOJO is in like the kind of like a Kamehameha stance, and Urihime is buffing him up. And Ichiji has a barrier around them. And Gakuganji is doing something with his curse technique on a biwa, which is like the Japanese guitar thing. And this is just a super hype sequence. And it pays off, because GOJO blasts a 200% powered up hollow purple towards Sakuda. So yeah, this is by far the strongest thing we've ever seen in the series. first of all, GOJO already set the standard for like the most powerful thing, which was already Hollow Purple. You know, the combination of red and blue in the Limitless Curse technique. But now it's powered up 200% because of what Urahime is doing here, and maybe what Kakuganji is as well. And this is perfect because GOJO's just starting off this fight with a bang. Like, imagine if this was an MMA fight, GOJO would just be running straight up to Sukuna with like a double flying knee. Like, that's what this is the equivalent of. Well, also if he was taking steroids beforehand as well. So this thing just gets launched at Sukuna from like, I don't know, a mile away in the city. Like, they're on rooftops very far away from each other, and this thing gets launched at Sukuna like a nuke. And Sukuna feels intimidated and tries to tank the buffed hollow purple shot. Like, Sukuna just puts his hands up like he's gonna stop it. And this thing is just destroying all the buildings in the way of GOJO's team attack. Like, they're all getting destroyed. And then the narrator explains that Sukuna misunderstood GOJO's action due to Ichiji forming the barrier. Though Sukuna felt the presence, he couldn't catch the massive amount of cursed energy output blasted at him until the last second. So this is an incredible sequence. I love this so much. Everyone working together here. Everyone matters. Ichiji especially. Putting up that barrier like we speculated that he would. Not necessarily a curtain, which was more so his go-to, but just a straight up barrier shielding GOJO's massive cursed energy accumulation here and lulling Sukuna into a false sense of security, because at the last second this buffed hollow purple shot is right at him face first, and he's taking it on the chin because Sukuna's right hand is burnt and it's destroyed from trying to tank GOJO's attack. GOJO arrives in front of Sukuna and says, "Seems like you're misunderstanding, so I'll tell you. You are the challenger here." And Sukuna gets angry, and that's where the chapter ends. So yeah, what an incredible beginning to this fight. GOJO drawing first blood with the strongest attack we've ever seen. So like, that's just how this fight starts. Just with the strongest attack we've ever seen in the series. And Sukuna is missing his right hand here, like, and his forearm's burnt as well. But also keep in mind, this is Megumi's hand. And normally we would think that Sukuna is going to reverse curse technique this, as we saw what he did with the finger bearer, as he was, you know, with Yuji at that time in the first season of the series. But there could be something special with Hollow Purple, and it's like, you can't reverse curse technique from it. Because Urarame also pointed out in the previous chapter that even though she was able to use reverse curse technique from the punch that GOJO landed on her, like, it still hurt. And we also saw that, you know, even reverse curse technique being used on Maki didn't heal her scars. So it's possible that Sukuna just can't bring his hand back here. Although I'm sure he'll do something, but just keep that in mind that, you know, not all jujutsu is created equal, especially if it's negative versus positive. But yeah, GOJO finally back to normal here with his true confidence. Like, we saw him going into the fight in the previous chapter. He was very stoic. He actually kind of looked like Toji. He was also dressed like Toji too, which is interesting. Could be foreshadowing or whatnot. But yeah, this is just an incredible start to the fight. Finally, someone tanks this. Well, not tanks it, but I'll say takes the Hollow Purple. Not only that, a 200% buffed up one. So yeah, Sukuna, this is going to be a long fight for him. And GOJO too. Like, GOJO just did his, you know, showed his hand in the very beginning of the fight. I mean, he didn't use his domain expansion, which I'm sure we'll get into, but man, the future is bright for this series, and I am so looking forward to what we're going to see in the next chapter. I mean, I wouldn't even mind if we go to a flashback and it shows more of GOJO interacting with the students or whatnot and talking to them, which is much needed. But man, I also kind of just want to see this fight play out for just like 3 chapters straight, just full fights, you know, the way that like Demon Slayer does it. Oh man, but guys, let me know what you think about this in the comments, and if you liked the video, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.